Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's July 14th, 2018, and this is another episode of Ask Me Anything. I've been posting a few videos over the last couple of years showing me using Bumblebee, the transformer, the mini excavator, on doing various things on the property, whether it's digging out an area that's going to be for swales or pond systems, digging utility line trenches and all. Those are typical things that you think about using a mini excavator for. And also I've been taking trees out of the woods, digging out the stumps and all. And that generated a question from David. David wanted to know, I guess basically what are some of the limitations of the mini excavator? And he had asked specifically about some wetland grasses, digging those out, digging out a 4-inch diameter tree trunk on a 15-degree slope and all. So a 15-degree slope is like a 412 pitch. For every 12 feet that you go out horizontally, you're going down 4 feet. Or for every 3 feet out laterally, you go down 1 foot. So is that a limit? Yes, it is. So first, let me say, today I'm going to be taking out this tree here. This is one that concerns me, and I won't go into it too much, but there's some dead parts way up on the top part of there that are really decomposed. And I've had some very scary close calls when they're really dead and you bump into them, or just a wind picks up, that couple 100-pound trunk or branch can come crashing down. And there's some branches that are hanging up there on top of other branches. So that's one that gives me concern. Fortunately, this excavator has a cab on it, and it has a lot of glass as well, so that should offer me some protection. But on Optimus Prime, my front end loader, I almost got killed one time when I used that before I had the mini excavator, knocking over a tree. I didn't dig out the root ball because I didn't have an excavator. I would just push up against a tree and push, wiggle back and forth, while the top snapped off. While I was pushing it forward, it came down, crushed the cowl, destroyed the steering wheel. Fortunately, I saw it coming down, and so I squished down as far as I could. But when you're operating pieces of equipment like this, the more experience you have, either initially just watching YouTube videos of people using these pieces of equipment, it gives you an idea of some of their intrinsic qualities, some of the things that they can do. But as I digress here, I'm going to go over and show you a couple of the root balls that I pulled out the other day. And here we go. So this is a root ball from a maple I took out yesterday. This was a tree that was dying last fall. There's an ash right alongside of it. Another one. And so, these ones are over a foot in diameter, and I know you would ask about, 4 inches in diameter with some of these trees, knocking them over and all. But as you can see in the videos that I post, I'm almost always digging out around the base of these trees. So some of them have already been dead for a while, and there's all the small roots are already missing. So they're real easy. I can just basically bump into them and knock them out. Some of them have been dead for so long. Some of them have been dead for so long, like that ash, a lot of the root material had already decomposed in the earth. So things to consider when determining if this is something that can accomplish a task. You need to look at, well, what are the limitations? What are the intrinsic characteristics of the piece of equipment, the tool that you're using? So this mini excavator has a limited reach. It has a all excavators have a limited reach. a limited bucket capacity, whether it has a thumb on it that can grab something easily. This is a tool that once you get used to using it, you know, it's like an extension of your hand. You can grab a hold of things, you can gradually dig, and as long as you know, geez, that like the ground we have here is just loaded with rocks and all. I don't know if the rock pile is showing up behind me back there. The more time that you spend working with a piece of equipment, the more comfortable you can become to safely go ahead and work on a slope, so that you set the excavator in the right direction. And each piece of equipment is different. You see that there's a small blade on the front of this excavator. And on the really small excavators, I don't know what they're called. This is in the mini category. But on the really tiny ones, in order to dig a trench, because of the weight of the vehicle is so little, you got to dig the opposite way that this is, where the blade is behind you and you're digging on the other side. Otherwise, every time you try to dig down in the earth, you're just lifting the excavator up in the air. So knowing the tool that you're using, the limitations, the weight of the material that you can lift, the slope that you can be on, and how to position the piece of equipment on the slope, you can do things pretty darn safely. And the number of things you can do nowadays, because of the different attachments that go on these pieces of equipment, and these are, I'd say, I don't want to use the term easy, but they're intuitive. So these pieces of equipment, some people within 20 minutes will already get the knack of it, and if they go practice for an hour off to the side, they'll be able to use a piece of equipment like this. But unless they have, then that's the experiential investment. Unless they have an understanding intellectually of what are the limitations, what shouldn't I be doing with this piece of equipment, then they can get themselves into trouble and do some damage, either to themselves or the piece of equipment or something else that they're working around. So yes, a 4-inch trunk of a tree is a piece of cake for even a smaller excavator than this, even on a 15-degree slope. Just knowing how to position yourself so that you're going to be able to accomplish the mission that you have before you. So I hope that answered the question. I'm going to see if I can safely take down this tree and not get injured. I've got some stuff to pick up over there, so I may stick some GoPro. If I survive this, I'll stick some GoPro footage behind here of the process of digging out this tree and pushing it over, and hopefully I don't run into any big boulders underneath it. The other thing I should mention is, when you're getting a piece of equipment like this, you know, even getting on the equipment, we talk about 3 points of contact when you're getting on it. Before you dig on, even on your own property, it'd be really wise to make sure that you've contacted the right people to know what things are in your property, where your septic system is, where your electric lines are, and if you're working up near the road, you need to know where all the utilities are located as well. So here we go. Well, the tree came down without too much effort. Initially, I couldn't get the trunk to start leaning. I had to break off a couple more bits of root. Not that we're actually anchored into the surrounding earth, but it was just too heavy for the mini excavator to be able to tilt that bugger initially. So I did a little more work on it, breaking up some of the area around the root ball. And as you saw, it came over pretty fine, or hopefully you saw. I don't know if the GoPro footage turned out. It came down in a great location, and none of the limbs fell on me, which was awesome. Okay, so I'm down here in the hole with the root ball. It's still attached to the trunk, otherwise I wouldn't be down here. And this is one heck of a hole in the ground. And I'm going to have to first take some of that fill, that material that I piled up over here, and build my fill-in part of the hole so I can work my way over to start working with tearing some of this gravel off of the base of the roots. Because this root ball would be one demon to move around. And I don't know how well you could see, this is all gravel. Coarse sand and gravel attached to that, and this is, if you remember the hugelkultur pit video, this soil right down here is the material, this material right here at the base of this root ball. This is what the surface of the property looked like up there in the food forest. So that's why we needed to haul in all the material that we did do and do the techniques that we've been using in order to build new soil up there. Well, I'm feeling a little dehydrated and a little tired, so I'm going to go take a break and get rehydrated. And I may come back out here and do some more work on it, but I thought I'd end this video at this point. I think we showed that the mini excavator, Bumblebee, is capable of taking down a pretty good sized tree if the approach is handled appropriately. It's very time consuming taking down a big tree like this. Certainly a 30-ton excavator would have had this done in you know, 1/12 the time. And but a mini excavator, I'm pretty happy. We can get into small areas and get a lot done. I've got much of the hole filled in, a lot of the dirt off the root ball rather, and I got some of the limbs off of the tree here. I'll have to section up the areas for the hugelkultur, and there's some wood on there, I'm sure, that'll be good for firewood as well. But a big proportion of this is going to the hugelkultur. So that'll help out in the area that's the hugelkultur and back to Eden sort of video that I talked about before. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I appreciate the feedback and the interaction and the community members and all. And if this was of value, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like, share it with your friends. And hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post more videos. And certainly, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.